917. Thanks so much for your patience. What's your name, comment, and or question?
Hi, this is Wendy from Virginia. How are you?
Doing great, Wendy. What's on your mind?
So I just wanted to leave a comment quickly about the domestic implications of Hillary Clinton's AIPAC speech. And one of the things that I haven't seen covered a ton, but sort of hinted at here and there is, again, the connections between Black Lives Matter and what's going on in Israel. Yep. Now, in the case of U.S. Black Lives Matter, there have been some sects of the movement that have been trying to connect with the Palestinian issue. And I know that some people have been rather vocal about that, including musical artists and things like that.
Yep.
And there's also, at the same time, an ongoing Black Lives Matter movement within Israel, because as you may know, a lot of African descended or Afro-descended and Black Israelis are targeted by the police at much higher rates, killed by the police. They have a stop and frisk law that they recently put into the legislature and passed. It affects Arabs as well. So I think what's happening is that there's sort of this weird disconnect between the U.S. and the Israeli situation, oddly, at this time when you think Black liberals, people of the Black left would be saying more. The only person I saw today really talking about it was Janetta Elsie, who's a well-known Black Lives Matter activist, and she asked this question, like, where are the Black figures on this? But the issue is that they too, the political figures at least, are funded by, in many cases, PACs that support the Israeli government. So it's a difficult situation, and I don't know where it's going to go forward, especially considering that the anti-BDS legislation that Hillary Clinton and others support has an impact on Black Lives Matter activism and other types of activism in the U.S. So if those types of legislations or that type of law is passed more universally in the U.S., that means that people who are protesting here are going to be going to jail, much like the members of the Israeli left who are doing much of the same. I mean, right now Netanyahu is cracking down on the left in Israel in very large numbers on a similar front. So just wanted to leave that comment.
That's an awesome comment. Thanks so much for that.
Well, and just to go a step further with Netta's tweets today, because she actually has she has very awesome tweets from, all the time, but sometimes I'll catch them and I'll be like, wow, did she just say that? And I know she's one of those people that people are always up in her mentions about, why don't you support Bernie? And again, we've talked about this before, people have their politics, people have what they're doing. And, not everybody feels that it is a moral imperative to endorse Senator Bernie Sanders or to endorse, Hillary Clinton, if that's where politics lie. But they feel that it's better to push people. And I really do think that what we saw with Bernie Sanders today was the result of activists demanding a clearer, leftist position on this issue, because that's been one of the criticisms, that he has not, for someone who's supposedly so progressive, he has not gone far enough in demanding a real and just resolution to the situation, right? He's basically, Israel has an absolute right to exist. I believe in a two-state solution. We need a peaceful, that's pretty much been the gist of it. Yes. I've been trying to find the clip, and I have not had time in the past few months to clip it, but if I remember correctly, at the Families First Forum, he and Martin O'Malley were both asked basically about whether or not they would use the funds that are given to the state of Israel kind of as a way to kind of just start using it to incentivize, changes in the peace process. And they both answered that they were more interested in seeing funds shifted away from militarism and more towards, human rights relief efforts and improving the life of everyone. I'll try to clip that, or at least find a link again so that we can get it clipped. But what was interesting about what the caller just said, what was interesting about one of Netta's tweets was she was just like, for all these people of influence, these Black people of influence who support Hillary Clinton, how are you all in a position to actually push her and challenge her on certain issues? I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah, I have
not the exact tweet.
Actually, I wanted to.
You have it? Okay, yeah.
Right here, because I wonder, this is Janetta. She said, I wonder for the Black folk with large profiles on here who support HRC, Hillary Rodham Clinton, can you support her and push her on the problematic shit she says? And this was in reference to, this was the clip. Let me play the clip that she was referring to of Hillary at AIPAC. Let's listen. Right there. Here we go.
These attacks must end immediately. And Palestinian leaders need to stop inciting violence, stop celebrating terrorists as martyrs, and stop paying rewards to their families.
So that goes to the context of what we're discussing, right? She cast the entire narrative, particularly in that clip, but almost through the entire damn speech. She cast the entire narrative as a singular problem that's coming from Palestine versus even conceding that there's a complexity of problems on both sides of the aisle.
Mm-hmm.
So I was throwing it back to you so you can finish your thought. I'm sorry.
No, I can't.
No, and that's the.
I just can't with her. I can't with honestly, the thing. I mean, there's so many things that were so wrong today for me. I think, but it's like this is what we've had. The Democratic establishment, her followers trying to convince all of us that her and Bernie are essentially the same. Right. In some way, she's more progressive or more left than him, or whatever the case may be. I mean, there's so much conflict, right? They try to say there's conflict in Bernie's platform. For someone who's so anti-gun, anti-killing, she's the biggest warmonger on the trail right now, and she gets to just want to write a check for unchecked military aid, to not having any real care or concern for the loss of life. I mean, that's really what it is, right? When asked about her Iraq vote, when pressed about Iraq, it's just like, oh, I made a decision. Yeah, but so many people died, not just American soldiers. A couple. I forget the numbers, but there were a few thousand American soldiers who died, right? But there were tens of thousands of innocent Iraqis who died because of the U.S. led invasion into Iraq. There are tons of people who died, and Afghanistan is a different issue because they all agreed about Afghanistan because Afghan government at the time, the Taliban, was harboring Al Qaeda and Osama bin Laden. I don't necessarily agree with that either, but I mean, when you definitely talk about Iraq and how there was absolutely no evidence, and they spun something from nothing into a reason to not only go to war, but to make them turn a buck. I mean, it's seriously problematic for me. And that's what all this comes down to, is what is in her best interest. And it just seems like she changes depending upon who she's speaking on. And I really do think what we saw today from Senator Sanders was the result of months and months of people pushing and demanding. Right. We saw at one of the early Boston events, right, Palestinian students who were pro Bernie, but they wanted to know, are you going to take a stand? Are you going to take a stand? Are you going to feel the burn for us too? Are you going to represent us? And now here we are. And, going into coming out of Michigan, we saw that Arab Americans overwhelmingly supported Bernie Sanders in Michigan, particularly in the city of Dearborn, which has a high, Arab American, Muslim American population. And one of the things that Arab American News pointed out, which also endorsed in a sense, was that he has the most balanced approach to the Middle East and into the Israel-Palestine. And we saw that today. Now, you could take some criticism with some of the way he phrases things, some of his
I mean, but there's always a place to, are people that we respect, people that we like. And anytime you have to venerate your politician and make them out to be something greater than what they are, not only are you being disingenuous, but you're playing yourself. You're blocking any opportunity for you to ever push them forward on issues that are relevant to you. Now, let me, because I need to take a pause here. Let's take a pause here. Let's take a station identification break, because we've been going hard for the last hour, 23 minutes. And I haven't told you guys that you should take a moment to subscribe to the Benjamin Dixon Show. Listen, these types of conversations that we have them on a regular basis. This is nothing new. We do this every night. Matter of fact, we do it so much that I'm going to take a break and let Anoa do it by herself tomorrow night. So join us tomorrow night for Anoa Chongas. She's going to be hosting the Benjamin Dixon Show by herself, and she's going to rock and do her show. She's going to build out her show on Tuesday nights. So not just tomorrow night, but every Tuesday for at least the next month. Anoa Chonga is going to be doing her own show. And then on Thursdays, Nis Peterson, he will be hosting the Benjamin Dixon Show, but as he builds his platform, because this is just something that we do. Now, if you like what we do, you should take a minute and go subscribe If you really like what we do, go over to patreon.com/the BPD show and become a patron of the show. Now, with that in mind, let's take this next caller who has been so